Hi everyone! In this video, I would like to go over what I feel is quite possibly one of the most important cell organelles for keeping life on this planet. That is the chloroplast. The process that chloroplasts do, called photosynthesis, is what I feel one of the more important cellular processes for keeping us all alive. Not to say that any of the other processes aren't important, but this one right here is how I get food. And I really like food. So the process that chloroplasts go through is called photosynthesis. And in this video, I just want to give you a quick overview of what that is, what the reactants and products are of photosynthesis, how plants take all that stuff in, what they give off. And in later videos, we'll go into some more detail on that. So let's go ahead and get started. Photosynthesis. You guys have been hearing about this process for years, all the way back into elementary school, I'm sure. So photosynthesis is what most of you guys will tell me is where plants use the sunlight to make food. Yes, that is right, but let's get a little more specific in that. So the definition here that I want to give you guys is that photosynthesis is the process of trapping energy or taking the energy from sunlight and using that energy to make sugars, to build organic compounds, carbohydrates. When we learned about biochemistry and the four big biomolecules, carbohydrates are those molecules that we need for energy. So those are the ones that we use when we eat food to get energy. Plants are the organisms that do this. There are also some algae that go through photosynthesis, and there's even some photosynthetic bacteria, although they don't have the chloroplasts to do this. But organisms that can take that energy from sunlight and actually use it to make nutrition, we call those autotrophs. You can also call plants producers, because what they're doing is they're producing all the energy for that particular ecosystem in which they live. For example, as an animal, we can't go stand out in the sun and harvest that energy that's coming to us from the photons from the sunlight and use that to make any kind of energy that's usable for us. We need plants to do that. We need autotrophs and producers to take that and produce and make all of these organic molecules that we can use for energy. So this is the process how that happens. All right, so the chemical equation for photosynthesis. Believe it or not, I bet most of you guys can tell me this. You just can't use all the fancy scientific terms for it. But really, what do plants take in and what do they make for photosynthesis? What they do is they'll take in sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. They do need other things to live, but for photosynthesis, these are the three big ones. And from that, plants will make sugars. Primarily glucose is the big one that we talk about here, but the chemicals that are formed from photosynthesis can be used to make all different kinds of carbohydrates, and they give off oxygen. So if we look at our picture here, we have the light energy coming down. The leaves and the chloroplasts of the plant will absorb that light energy. They take that energy, use it to rearrange the atoms of carbon dioxide and water that they're absorbing to form sugars, and they give off oxygen from that process. Here's the fancy scientific way to put that. So here's your chemical equation with your chemical formulas here. We have light energy here, plus 6 carbon dioxide molecules, plus 6 water molecules is going to give us C6H12O6, otherwise known as glucose, and give off 6 oxygen molecules here. All of this happens again in the chloroplast, like we talked about in the beginning of the video. But really, like I was showing you in the slide before this, it's just light plus carbon dioxide plus water gives us sugar and oxygen. That's the big equation of photosynthesis. These right here in red are your reactants. These are the things that are reacting together. And from that, plants and other photosynthetic organisms can produce sugars, these organic carbohydrates here, and they give off oxygen. Both of these are necessary for organisms to live. In some later videos, I'll go into more detail about how all this happens, but this is the basic outline of photosynthesis right here. And so where does this happen? It happens in the leaves and stems of plants. Any part of the plant that is green. The cells that make up the leaves and stems of the plants on the outside there have lots of chloroplasts in those. Those chloroplasts are the organelles that are absorbing that light energy. There's chlorophyll in the membranes of those chloroplasts. The chlorophyll is the pigment that takes in the light, and it reflects the green light. So that's why you see these parts of the plants as green. So any part of a plant that is green has some photosynthesis happening in it. And again, in some later videos, I will go into more detail about this entire process here.